Please be seated. Good afternoon. I welcome you today on behalf of my colleagues on the court. We are delighted that you have come to witness the ceremony that publicly marks the installation of our newest member, and hope that you will also celebrate with us at the reception for Justice Albin that follows this program. I am especially pleased to welcome our new justice's family, friends, and former colleagues, our honored guests from the other branches of state government, from the federal bench, and from both the state and federal bar associations. This is the 5th time since my appointment that I have had the opportunity to mark the departure of a retiring justice and to say goodbye for the court. In our work on the court, each of us looks to the precedents of the past for guidance as we face new issues and new challenges. It is fitting that we recognize the contributions of those who have served with distinction, even as we welcome Justice Albin to the court. The career of our retired colleague and Senior Associate Justice on the court, Justice Gary Stein, is marked by an understanding of the past and an application of principle in decision-making. His service on the court has been long and distinguished, and he has given tirelessly of his energy and intellect to the citizens of this state. His reputation for fairness and for compassion is unchallenged. His passion for justice has been the lodestar of his work, and he has never shied away from hard or even unpopular decisions when he believed that his understanding of the law was correct and true. We have lost a valued colleague. I would only add, Justice Stein, we say farewell with best wishes for many healthy, joyful, and productive years. Rabbi Shira Stern will begin the official program with an invocation. She is director of the Jewish Institute for Pastoral Care, part of a multi-faith organization that provides professional pastoral care to many thousands of patients annually at dozens of healthcare sites in the region. Rabbi Stern.
In our sacred texts, the thread of justice is woven into the very fabric of society to remind us that however we choose to deal with the world, we must do so justly, with understanding that fairness and righteousness must be our guides. In Leviticus 19, the Holiness Code, we read, "You shall not bow down to the poor, nor cater to the rich. In all your decisions, justice must prevail." It is not so easy a task, or we wouldn't have to be reminded of this so often. Justice, justice, you shall pursue. These words echo throughout the centuries. And the rabbis ask, why twice? Why justice, justice? Because we are mandated to decide things justly whether or not the outcome benefits us or, on the other hand, does not benefit us. In all things that we do, we must do so with an understanding that only justice is the way. That is the task with which you are faced. May all your decisions be governed by fairness to all and favor towards none, because the consequences are irrelevant, but it's because it's the right thing to do. May God bless the work of your hands, your mind, and your heart, and may God give you the strength to accomplish all that is before you. And with these words, we bless you. Yevarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May God bless you, and may God keep you. Yaher Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka. May God's countenance shine for you and be gracious to you. Yisa Adonai, Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha, v'yasem lecha, v'yasem lecha shalom, shalom. May God bless you. May God keep you. And may God grant you and all of us peace. Amen.
Thank you, Rabbi Stern. Jack McGreevy, whose friendship with Justice Albin spans several decades, will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Good afternoon. Please join in as we say the Pledge of Allegiance as we place our hands over our hearts. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. God bless.
Thank you, Mr. McGreevy. Sherry A. Simpson, who I am told just turned 13 last Saturday, will sing our national anthem. Sherry A. is an 8th grader at Link Community School in Newark. Thank you, Cherrier. It is now my great pleasure to introduce Jack McGreevy's son, otherwise known to you all as the Governor of the State of New Jersey, James McGreevy.
Thank you. Thank you very much. To the Chief Justice, to Rebbe Stern, to all justices present and past, to the Chief Counsel to the Governor, Paul Levinson, to His Excellency Warren Cardinal Wilentz, and to one of the most decent, honorable, and kind men, Barry Albin. Just want to share first a few vignettes as to Barry and I. I was born in the sacred soil of Jersey City and then migrated to that metropolitan oasis known as the borough of Carteret. Barry came from New York and settled in Saraville. When Warren Wilentz found us, we were both wearing artificial fibers. Warren takes great pride in the admonition that he introduced a justice and the governor to natural fibers. But one of my favorite stories of Barry is our dear friend Peter Vishalia. I was very much involved in the National Conference of Christians and Jews, and my dear friend Marilyn Tappett, I had everybody involved in this great organization. And the goal of the organization was to perpetuate those ideals, God willing, so many of us hold as Americans. That is tolerance and acceptance of an open, diverse, and inclusive civil society. And I had done it for a full decade. So finally, after some time, I recognized that it was now time to pass the torch of leadership of the great NCCJ. So I spoke to Barry. I said, Barry, you're going to have to huddle with me. We're going to have to convince Vishalia to take over the National Conference of Christians and Jews. So Barry says, all right. He's a willing participant. And we went to one of our favorite little diner places that gives you entirely too much pastrami or lentil soup. And finally, Peter shows up. And Peter had just taken over Federal Business Centers. He was very much involved in Del Barton Preparatory School. And I sense that Peter is backing up and that this is an unachievable goal to have Peter serve as the NCCJ chairman. Quickly, I recognize my only help is if Albin takes the mantle of leadership. I kick Vishalia underneath the table and he goes, but Bar, you'd be a great chairman. And Barry accepted it. My friends, perhaps as governor, there's no greater charge or responsibility than to ensure the sanctity of our state Supreme Court. It was Abraham Lincoln who said in his first inaugural address, "Why should there not be a patient confidence in the ultimate justice of the people? Is there any better or equal hope in the world?" Lincoln set forth those concerns for which all of us as Americans understand that in our system of government, there needs to be three independent and vigorous branches. For again and again, it was understood that those who are willing to engage in the pursuit of justice once again are committed to not only excellence of our society, but the basic underpinnings of the American system. We are all challenged by the history of this great state Supreme Court. I'm reminded of the fact that in our 1947 Constitution, we provided not only for a state Supreme Court, but for separate management and the incorporation of separate and unique procedures. It was specifically Justice Vanderbilt who set forth not only that the Supreme Court would be separate and independent, but he challenged us all to a more vigorous Supreme Court. Vanderbilt typically stated that he refused to put the common law in a self-imposed straitjacket. In its earliest beginnings, the New Jersey State Supreme Court did not hesitate to begin to grapple with the serious challenges of society. Quoting Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes and Benjamin Cardozo in support of his position, Vanderbilt stated that judges should not hesitate to repudiate those doctrines that lack support in reason or public policy, and should, and I quote, adapt the law to the needs of the living present. Vanderbilt set forth in courageous tones his willingness to jettison clearly outmoded legal doctrines, as well as to replace ineffective rules of procedure. He concluded in a noteworthy decision, and I quote, "We should not permit the dead hand of the past to weigh so heavily upon the law that it perpetuates the rules of law without reason. Unless rules of law are created, revised, or rejected as conditions change and as past errors become apparent, the common law will soon become antiquated and ineffective in an age of rapid economic and social change. It will be on its way to the grave." Again and again, we have had among the most active judiciaries throughout the nation, and the New Jersey Supreme Court has demonstrated not only that it is an independent institution, but has been willing to reach activist results. The court's reputation for its intellectual acuity, its activism, its innovation, and most importantly, its independence, affirms our state Supreme Court as among the giants in the land. Today, we take a step forward in that long tradition. I am publicly proud of the fact of the recognition, the support of the state legislature in confirming the nomination of Barry T. Albin. Most importantly, as governor, I commit our continued support to that strong, vigorous, and independent judiciary. But as in years past, I challenge our state judiciary, our state Supreme Court, to follow and to adhere to the admonition of Vanderbilt, and that is to be willing to challenge us as a state and as a people, to not merely be constrained by the visions of the past, but to continue to have the courage, the requisite will, to forge a clear path, and that is to grapple with the challenges of today. I am confident with the appointment of Justice Albin, he will accede to a long list of distinguished jurists. To Justice Stein, I want to express my personal appreciation for his integrity, his decency, and his thoroughness. To the entirety of the Supreme Court, I want to thank them for their independence, their vigor against all assaults by the various branches, and the maintenance of their integrity and their common sense. And to Barry, I ask you to follow the admonition of the prophet Micah, to walk humbly, to do justice, and most importantly, to seek the divine guidance and the acquisition of justice so that this state might have been better for your service. Thank you and Godspeed.
Thank you, Governor. I now call upon the Chief Counsel to the Governor to address the audience. Paul Levinson has also known Justice Albin, I gather since he worked for the Justice a number of years back at Wilentz, Goldman, and Spitzer. Paul Levinson.
Thank you, Chief Justice. Good afternoon. Today is certainly a wonderful day. We are here, all of us together, to honor a remarkable attorney and an even better person, my former boss, my good friend, the Honorable Barry T. Albin. I want to begin by commending our governor on his leadership and on this outstanding appointment. And I want to congratulate the people of New Jersey on this most recent addition to their Supreme Court. In Barry Albin, we will have a justice who possesses a deep passion for the law, a dogged determination to fight for those whom society may have forgotten, and an unwavering commitment to seek equality. You know, when I think of Barry, three things come to my mind. I think of his integrity, I think of his decency, and I think of his hard work. It's a pretty good lineup. I met Barry in 1997. I had just begun working at the Wilentz firm, and I'm not quite sure whether it was the close proximity of our offices or our mutual infatuation with the matzo ball soup at Harold's Deli, but we quickly became good friends. I was assigned to the Criminal Law Civil Rights Department, which Barry chaired, and almost immediately it struck me that Barry had all the characteristics of a great attorney: the legal acumen, the dedication, the creativity, the unique ability to have 5 different associates simultaneously research the same minor issue. I am told, I'm not quite sure, but I'm told that clients always look beyond such billing practices and praise Barry for his thoroughness. But throughout the next 4 years, I watched Barry successfully handle numerous high-profile criminal and civil rights cases. But to me, Barry's brilliance and his humanity was most evident in his representation of Dr. Lenis Kakris, a 30-year-old neurology resident from the island of Cyprus. In the winter of 1993, Dr. Kakris was on his way to a dinner date, and he made a wrong turn, and he found himself lost in Mount Vernon, New York. Minutes later, he was mistakenly shot by an undercover police officer. He was handcuffed from behind and left bleeding in the street. And when he arrived in the hospital, still in handcuffs, doctors waited over 2 hours before bringing him to the operating room, where he eventually died. For the next 5 years, Barry worked tirelessly to bring those responsible for the death of Dr. Kakris to justice. He traveled back and forth to Cyprus, interviewing family and friends, trying to fully grasp the life and the spirit of this young doctor. I was privileged to accompany Barry on one of these trips, and during the course of our week there, I witnessed Barry literally become a member of the Kakris family. He shared their grief, and he shared their unrelenting drive to see that their son, that their brother, would not be forgotten. Barry forged a connection with this family that I've really never seen between an attorney and his client. In fact, to this day, Barry remains the only Middlesex County attorney to have had a parade in his honor in the town of Nicosia, Cyprus. I don't know if that's true. But it flowed. After years of contentious litigation, as many of you know, the jury in the Kakris case returned a verdict condemning the police officers and the doctors for their actions. As always, Barry saw to it that the task was completed and that justice prevailed. In closing, I thought it might be appropriate to take a quick moment and impart a few words of advice to Barry's current and future law clerks, those who will be working day in and day out with the court's newest justice. A couple words of advice. Number one, remind Justice Albin that he is once again a government attorney on a fixed salary. That means absolutely no more suits from Nordstrom's. Gotta go cold. Number two, whatever you do, hide your amusement when, despite temperatures in the mid-50s, Justice Albin decides to put on a pair of gloves, a ski hat, a sweater, an overcoat, galoshes, etc. You need to understand, as Mother Norma always felt, you could never be too sure. Number three, If someone named Warren calls chambers, do not, under any circumstances, put him on hold. Put the call immediately through. Number 4, get in early, be prepared to stay late, and learn how to program the VCR. Your Sunday evenings are now about sight checking, not The Sopranos. And finally, and most importantly, prepare yourself to be continually struck by your boss's kindness, his honesty, and his desire to do what is right and to do what is just. Barry, Ina, congratulations, and thanks again for including me today.
It is always a special pleasure for me to introduce Justice Alan Handler, a former colleague and a friend, to any audience. This is, however, a special occasion when members of the court, former and current, are gathered to welcome a new colleague in their ranks. It is fitting that Justice Handler, who himself served so long and so well, should speak to us all. Justice Handler.
Thank you. Governor McGreevey, Governor Florio, Chief Justice Poritz, and current and recent members of the court, senators and legislators, all of the distinguished people who join in this ceremony. You and this overflowing crowd attest to the special significance of this occasion. We do more, much more, than honor a person. We participate in and acknowledge a signal event in our public lives, one in which the public is deeply invested. We witness the reconfiguration and the renewal of one of our great and indispensable institutions of government, the New Jersey Supreme Court. Now, over these many weeks, we have heard from many people extolling and expanding on the superb qualifications of Barry Albin to be a justice of the New Jersey Supreme Court. And if it were repeated that I was overheard to say that I'm getting sick of it, I would deny that. In recounting all of the accolades that have been bestowed on Barry Albin, one can envision a halo or crown forming over his head. But this is not a coronation or a deification. The fact is, his personal qualifications are considerable, and they are exceptionally relevant to the office he will hold. We have come to know that he is intelligent, has a keen intellect, a penetrating mind, great analytical skills. Over these weeks, we have had sketches of his character, and they indicate that he is a person of extraordinary integrity, honesty, trustworthiness, and individual probity. He is a temperament that supports all of these qualities. He is tolerant, open-minded, patient, even-tempered. He is balanced, objective, fair, and totally free of bias. I would add that he is sympathetic and kind. He is generous and philanthropic. All of these attributes become focused and concentrated when we think about his professional qualifications. He is known to be a stellar lawyer, competent, prepared, knowledgeable, understanding the balance between loyalty to client and fidelity to the courts. He is known as a wonderful lawyer. It's a shame that he's been appointed to the Supreme Court because he was well on his way to becoming a great lawyer. I mention these things, and they've been mentioned often, only to make the point of how they coincide and relate to the position he is assuming. And that requires some framework or some background about the court itself. The court is sometimes viewed or characterized as being aggressive, as perhaps gratuitously taking on matters of public policy or dealing with cases needlessly that really more appropriately belong to the other branches of government. That view is neither accurate nor complete. It is fueled by reactions to court decisions with which people disagree. And it obscures the reality that the court has a constitutional role and that it is sensitive and responsive to that role. There are some cases it must hear. There are other cases in the exercise of its discretion that it chooses to hear, but it does so on the basis of established principles and traditions. There are cases that present constitutional issues or matters of great public importance or pose a conflict in the law or impact materially on the administration of justice. The court does not invent those cases and it does not seek them out. It deals with them only because they are brought to the court and dropped on its doorstep. The court engages in principled decision-making. Its determinations are not obscure. They may be controversial, but the opinions that express its determinations are full. They relate the authority that the court relies on. The reasoning of the court is thoroughly exposed. Of course, this function cannot be performed without controversy, but neither can the respective responsibilities of a governor or a legislature be undertaken without engendering controversy. That is really the essence of our tripartite representative government. I mention these things because Barry Albin will make a perfect fit with this court. The court is a collective body, but it is much more than the sum of its 7 members. It functions in a dynamic, interactive, collaborative way in which the distinctive strengths and qualities of each member contribute to its ultimate determinations. We can anticipate that Justice Albin, given his qualifications, will enable the court to continue to be responsive, principled, concerned, fair, objective, tolerant, and open in its work. Now, by these remarks, I do very much intend to honor Barry Albin as a person, but more by these remarks, I hope to inspire deep feelings of confidence and to generate strong assurances that we should all harbor in having Barry Albin become a member of the New Jersey Supreme Court. The history of the court explains its continuity and why Justice Albin, in joining the court, joins not only the Porritz Court, but joins the Wilentz Court, the Hughes Court, the Weintraub Court, and the Vanderbilt Court, and why he will understand its mission and honor its traditions. And so we all join in congratulating the Chief Justice and the justices of our court in securing a new member who will contribute magnificently to its important and daunting work and will only enhance and enlarge its accomplishments. And we commend the governor who has demonstrated that he understands the importance of the Supreme Court, who appreciates its responsibilities, who is cognizant of its traditions, and who has seen his way clear to bring to the court an individual who comports with those standards and will fulfill its goals. Thank you.
Our next speaker had the unenviable position of being Justice Albin's adversary in court when Justice Albin was a young attorney in the prosecutor's office. I am wise enough not to ask who prevailed. And I am also wise enough to know that skilled and dedicated adversaries may forge strong and lasting friendships, born of the respect that they have for one another. I now ask Warren Wilentz to say a few words.
Governor, Chief Justice, members of the Supreme Court, and former members of the Supreme Court. 22 years ago, I went to the courthouse in New Brunswick to try an arson case. I met my adversary, a young assistant prosecutor named Barry Albin, who really didn't look too imposing. But he was charming and respectful and very likable. He tried a superb case, and sadly enough, justice was done. I made up my mind that when I had the opportunity, I would hire him. I think I'm a pretty good judge of talent. I must tell you that I spotted Jim McGreevey long before he was mayor of Woodbridge. Two years later, I had the opportunity to offer Barry a job. He accepted and came to Willens Coleman Spitzer as an associate on the criminal team, of which I was the leader. Over 20 years, we worked together on many matters. And as the years went by, he took my place on the compensation committee, on the managerial committee of the firm. He became the team leader. He was the leader of the criminal and civil rights team, and I became the grand old man of the Willens organization. That's not so bad now that Frank Lautenberg is back on the campaign trail. I figure there's hope for me. Paul Levinson, the governor's counsel, said to me the other day that wasn't I thrilled and proud that Barry was going to the Supreme Court. And of course I said yes. I also told Paul that I was devastated at losing him. It means I have to go back to work. It's great and it's awful. And as I explained many times, it's like watching my mother-in-law go off the cliff in my new Cadillac. As I stand here today in this historic building, I find myself remembering the last time I stood on this stage for a swearing in. It was at the ceremony for my brother Robert, when he became the Chief Justice. And I have many of the same feelings that I had then. In 1979, I watched my brother being inducted into the court. Now I feel as though my son were being inducted. Barry has indeed been like a son to me at the office and in our profession. I have watched him grow, mature, and take on more and more responsibility. At first, he came for me for guidance on complicated criminal matters. Later, I found myself going to him for guidance. Although it might not seem so on the surface, my brother Robert and Barry are alike in many ways. Barry is very hardworking and devoted lawyer. Robert was. Barry has a brilliant mind, and Robert did. Both of them wanted to do something special to help people of every race, creed, and color, and economic circumstance to live better lives. Both were willing to make a tremendous financial sacrifice to be able to do that to serve the public. We are very lucky to have people like them who are willing to make the sacrifice and to go into public service. My brother's career at the helm of the Supreme Court was marked by great achievements. The court handed down precedents on crucial issues of our time, precedents that are followed all over America. And the court became and has remained one that other states, other appellate judges, and other justices look to when they encounter a difficult or novel problem. Our court is known as one that will examine important questions in the light of today's world with attention to both practicality and humanity, constitutionality and decency, to do the right thing. It's a splendid court of which all New Jersey citizens, and especially lawyers, are proud. So it's a wonderful feeling to see Barry following in those footsteps to that magnificent court. I feel confident that his work will add to its repute and that he will prove worthy of it, as he has at every stage of his career as a lawyer. The firm is sorry to lose you, Barry. Really are. We couldn't be prouder than to see you on this Supreme Court of the state of New Jersey. I know you're going to do a great job. You're a wonderful young man, and I love you very much. And I'm very proud of you, and God bless you, and God bless this court.
In just a minute or two, I will ask Barry Albin to step to the podium with his wife, Ina, and his son, Gerald, to be publicly sworn in. First, though, I want to add my voice to the others you have heard in expressing congratulations and delight in Justice Albin's appointment to the court. Many in public service have found a renewed dedication to their work since this world was irrevocably changed a little more than a year ago on September 11th, 2001. We on the court have shared in that commitment. In conference, on the bench, in our chambers, we have had in the last 13 months a heightened sense of the importance of our extraordinary American system of justice. We have learned again that the values of our democracy are the source of our freedom, and that our courts play a pivotal role in guaranteeing those values. Barry Albin comes to the court with a clear understanding of those values and of the justice system, of its importance, and of the role it plays in our everyday lives. His ability, his experience, and his commitment have made him a leader in the legal community for over 2 decades. He has focused his prodigious energies in the areas of criminal and civil rights representation, and he has learned a great deal that will be so valuable to us on the court. The high quality of his work is well recognized, as are his dedication and his strong sense of community. He has routinely represented pro bono those who could not afford to pay for legal services. He has presided over the New Jersey Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers and served on the criminal practice committees of both the Supreme Court and the Middlesex Vicinage. But most important, he is a man of substantial intellect and integrity. It is perhaps an understatement to say that in the short time that he has been with us since his private swearing in, he has learned the hard way that the work we do is demanding and difficult. And we have learned already that he is and will be a valued colleague. If the Albins will step forward, I would be very pleased to administer the oath of office before this audience of well-wishers.
I, Barry T. Albin,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same
and to the governments established in the United States
and to the governments established in the United States
and in this state,
and in this state,
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people,
and that I will perform the duties of Justice of the Supreme Court
and that I will perform the duties of Justice of the Supreme Court
faithfully,
faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly,
and justly,
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Governor and Mrs. McGreevy, Governor Florio, Chief Justice Poritz, and members of the Supreme Court past and present, Mr. Attorney General, members of the legislature, judges of the federal and state judiciary, distinguished guests, and my friends, which includes anyone I missed. I would like to say that I am a self-made man, but the truth is it has taken a village or two to help me realize this momentous day. Many of you in this hall have played a role in shaping and influencing my life, and therefore I must bore all of you by recognizing some of you. First, I wish to thank the village chief, James McGreevy, the governor of this state, for the faith he has expressed in me by this appointment, and for giving me this extraordinary opportunity to serve the public on the nation's preeminent state court of last resort, our New Jersey Supreme Court. Governor McGreevy, my friend of more than 20 years, has dedicated his career to advancing the public good, believing as I do that public service is a privilege, not a sacrifice. The state has a superb chief executive and a steady hand at the helm. I wish for him much success, and for the rest of us, a good, strong economic wind to lift our sails and carry us along. Justice Alan Handler is one of the great jurists of our time, a man of natural dignity and rock-ribbed principle. On the one occasion that I appeared before the New Jersey Supreme Court as a lawyer, I was on the receiving end of a Handler opinion, which snatched from me my victory in the lower courts. Justice Handler, today I am proud to receive an affirmance. Paul Levinson is a brilliant young lawyer who is counsel to the governor, holds one of the most important positions in state government. He comes from humble beginnings. Just 4 short years ago, he was writing memoranda for me. In one case, we traveled to Cyprus together, and after a long, hard journey, we reached the house of our clients, where the entire family was assembled. I knew immediately that American culture had penetrated even the deepest recess of the Middle East, because upon seeing Paul, a handsome, well-built young man, one family member cried out, "Baywatch!" My roots are planted in fertile ground. I come from a working-class family, a father who logged long hours as a pressman, and a mother who balanced the demands of 3 children. My parents devoted their lives to their children, and we were raised in a loving family, wealthy in the things that really matter in life. I am blessed to share this day with my mother, who is on the stage today. Thanks, Mom. And I know that the spirit of my father is with me today as well. My parents gave me a healthy start, a respect for hard work and the rewards of education, and 2 older brothers who occasionally tormented me and then turned their natural talents to dentistry. My wife, Ina, also a lawyer, is the most steadying and humbling influence in my life. In my household, she is the court of last resort. To her, I owe all that is good in my life today, most particularly our 2 precious children, Gerald and Daniel. Gerald is here as well today. I'm gratified to have my extended family here, my brothers and their families, my mother-in-law and father-in-law, brother-in-law, aunts, uncles, and cousins. For more than 20 years, I have practiced with some of the most talented lawyers in the finest law firm in the state, Wilentz, Goldman, and Spitzer. Is that a good enough plug, Warren? There I learned that the highest honor a client can pay his attorney is when he entrusts his liberty or his fortune to that attorney's care. There I learned that every client's case is the most important. There I enjoyed a career as a trial lawyer, representing clients, many of whom were in desperate straits, facing great odds. And there I weathered the jolts and shocks, the successes and disappointments that must come with any undertaking that is fraught with risk and uncertainty. It is a firm that produced a Chief Justice, 2 Attorneys General, Superior Court judges, a county prosecutor, and other first-rate public servants. The Wilentz firm has been my extended family, the attorneys and staff, my friends, and I will miss our daily encounters and adventures, but I will always carry with me the affection that I bear for all of you. I must give special note to the person who has most influenced my career, Warren Wilentz, my wise mentor, my trusted friend, my surrogate father, and my fashion idol, who saw a drably dressed young attorney and delivered him from polyester to natural fibers. I must also mention the people who gave me my start in the practice of law, all of whom went on to distinguished careers as jurists. Judge Benjamin Cohen, who gave me a chance as a law clerk in the Essex County Prosecutor's Office in 1975. Judge David Boehm, who saw some glimmer of potential in me and selected me as a Deputy Attorney General in the Division of Criminal Justice. Judge Burrell Ives Humphreys and Judge Joseph Falcone, who hired me as an Assistant Passaic County Prosecutor, and Judge Richard Rebeck and Judge Barnett Hoffman, who hired me as an Assistant Middlesex County Prosecutor. When I left the Middlesex County Prosecutor's Office to join the Wilentz firm to become a defense attorney, one local lawyer said that I would require a lobotomy to make the transition. I have proved that I am adaptable to new surroundings. In countless cases throughout my career, I have seen the full sweep of life's canvas, from high-minded civic virtue to pathos to the spectacle of human folly. It has been an invaluable education. This is also a time to celebrate the remarkable career of one of the finest jurists who ever served on the New Jersey Supreme Court, Justice Gary Stein. His unceasing quest to do justice is reflected in the body of work that will be long remembered and cited by generations of lawyers. He has left a benchmark of excellence that is a formidable challenge for any newcomer to follow. I want to thank Chief Justice Poritz and all the members of the Supreme Court, past and present, for their sound advice and the warm welcome with which I have been received. Thank you. It is with a combination of awe and humility that I approach my service on the New Jersey Supreme Court. The court has been graced with justices of penetrating intellect, uncompromising integrity, fearless independence, and outstanding scholarship. These justices have been trailblazers, willing to address the most difficult and perplexing issues of our day, and to respond with progressive and cutting-edge decisions that have won the court its widely hailed national reputation. The court has also not hesitated to find the New Jersey Constitution as an independent source of authority for preserving values and rights of the people of this state, which are not adequately protected by our federal Constitution. The court has never lost sight that its overarching goal is to see that justice and fairness prevail in every court of this state, and that the people who we are here to serve have confidence in our system of justice. I will do my best to maintain and perpetuate the grand traditions of the court. Our nation, our state, and our laws are works in progress. It was so at the time of the ratification of the United States Constitution, as it is today. The Founding Fathers were brilliant human beings and gave us a dazzling, new, and original plan for the foundation of government. But the document that came forth from their hands, with all its promise and hope, was imperfect and flawed. It was left to other generations to eradicate slavery, to guarantee universal suffrage, and to extend civil rights to all our people. Our work is not done, nor is it likely ever to be done, so long as we strive to make a more perfect system of justice. The Constitution sets forth ideals to which each generation must give life and new meaning. My grandparents came to this country as children around the turn of the last century. Their parents saw in this country a land of boundless economic opportunity and religious freedom, the same vision that beckoned wave after wave of immigrants to our shores, including my wife and her family, who fled Russia in 1978. What brought my grandparents and millions of other immigrants to America were the ideals enshrined in the United States Constitution and those found in our state constitution. Those enduring principles continue to guide us as they are applied and adapted by our New Jersey Supreme Court to the contemporary and novel circumstances of our day. I could offer no greater legacy to my family than to participate in preserving the values that distinguish our nation and state from all others, and to play a role in the progressive development of the law as our state continues to evolve and mature as a just society. Thank you all, and God bless you.
I want now to close the formal ceremonies and invite you once again to join us in a reception for our newest justice. The reception will immediately follow the ceremony. We'll join the justice and his family and others in the George Washington Ballroom. Thank you.